Well, good evening. This is Congressman Nick Langworthy, and I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. I hope by now that you've been able to join me for one of my monthly telephone town hall series where I call you, the residents of New York's 23rd Congressional District, and I give you an update on what I'm working on in Washington, and also get a chance to address your questions directly, see what's on your mind. For those of you who have never been here, welcome. But before we get started, if you have a question and you want to get in line to ask a question here tonight, you can press *3 on your phones. Again, *3 at any time during the call, and you can get in the queue to ask a question. It's been a busy summer, one that began with the historic passage of H.R. 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill, into law. It's putting the nation on the right trajectory, putting more money back in your pocket, giving the tax relief that our small businesses and middle-class taxpayers deserve, and it's going to be a huge shot in the arm for our economy. And as I have been home through the month of August, this work period has been incredibly productive and rewarding, and we've just met with hundreds of people across the district, and it's been a fantastic opportunity for me, and we're not finished yet. I'll be all over the district tomorrow. So as I've been traveling across our district, which spans 9 counties, to meet with everyday taxpayers and business owners and local officials, not-for-profit leaders and healthcare providers, we've also been meeting with law enforcement and talking to them. It's been a great opportunity to hear their concerns and talk about the work that I'm doing in Washington to get our country back on track, make it stronger, safer, and more prosperous. But time and again, no matter where I go, I hear about a lot of policies coming out of Albany that are making life harder and more expensive. And, I joke with my staff that 80% of the complaints and the concerns and the problems that people bring to us are because of actions in our state capital. And it has really gotten a lot worse with Governor Hochul's looming ban on natural gas that is set to take effect for new home construction in just 4 short months. In a decision that was the only way to calculate it is to satisfy the whims of climate radicals in her own party, Governor Hochul and the leadership in the state legislature have waged an all-out war on natural gas and propane. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that Governor Hochul and the leadership in the state legislature, that's all run by one party, have waged a full-out war on natural gas and propane. Too many people still don't understand what is on the horizon. And that's why we're doing a lot of messaging on this weekend, because people don't know that this deadline is upon us, that January 1st, 2026, it will be illegal to build a home in New York State with natural gas. And as we found that so few people are aware of these deadlines, I have been out there talking about this a lot. It's already affecting the housing market, as I've talked to home builders and people that are out there in the real estate industry. But we've also seen a spike in the cost of our energy bills, which this has also been exacerbated by this ban that's upcoming. I simply think the decision where the government is going to tell you how you heat your home is an assault on our freedom. It's an un-American assault on our freedom, on our pocketbooks, and our safety. I have been sounding on the alarm on this since I got to Congress. It's one of the fights and the reasons that I ran for Congress was to go have this debate about our energy needs in New York State, especially in upstate. But we're now just a few short months from this ban on natural gas hookups from taking effect. Again, if you're just joining us and would like to ask a question, please press *3 on your phone, and we're going to get you into the queue as soon as we get to the questions here just in a minute. I don't need to tell any of you what a lifeline natural gas is during a winter power outage. We will never forget in the Buffalo region, Winter Storm Elliott, the Christmas blizzard of 22. And it was just days before I took office as your congressman. It was brutal cold, total whiteout conditions for days, no way out. And we lost 69 lives tragically in that storm. And I believe with full conviction that the death toll of that storm would have been far worse if people didn't have natural gas to heat their homes and to stay alive. Gas stoves and gas fireplaces literally save lives in communities like ours. Yet the radical push to full electrification is not just misguided, it is dangerous. It could cost us lives in those sorts of events, and it's going to have a devastating effect on people's household budgets and the housing supply. So that's why I went to work. And earlier this summer, I once again introduced the Energy Choice Act. And what the Energy Choice Act would do, it would essentially ban the bans. It would prevent states or local governments from banning specific, safe, and legal energy sources like natural gas or propane in new construction. The American people should have the right to decide what kind of energy they want to use in their homes. And across our district, we have people that heat with wood. We have people that heat with natural gas. We have propane. We have fuel oil still. And there are people that have radiant electric heat if the area that you live in has affordable rates, a lot of our municipal systems. But a 2021 study by the Home Innovation Research Labs found that the additional cost of building an all-electric home compared to one with natural gas went in upwards of $15,000 per house. The cost for a geothermal heat pump is somewhere between $15,000 and $45,000 for a single home. And according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, there's a 42% increase in the annual costs for households using just electricity over natural gas for the average homeowner. And what's worse is that they're lowering supply of electricity onto the grid while artificially increasing the demand, mandating electric-only utilities. These are the problems that we have here. And I'm getting calls from you across my district that you don't want this, that you don't trust this, and that you're very concerned about this going into frigid winters in western New York and the southern tier. We're known for frigid winters and tough snow. But the decisions in Albany were buried in a state budget. It wasn't discussed. There was no hearings. There was no people going across the state having this discussion to see where the people actually stood on this. This was simply based on political ideology. It wasn't rooted in facts. It wasn't rooted in market research, and it certainly wasn't on the technology. Natural gas is clean, it's reliable, it's affordable, and it's abundant. And I'm proud to lead this fight for my Energy Choice Act to ban the bans and to protect New Yorkers' rights to affordable energy options. And I'm thrilled that this bill is getting a ton of momentum. We have vast support from both members across this country and from various industry leaders. In the coalition we built along with U.S. Senator Jim Justice from West Virginia, he has the companion bill in the Senate, and that's a testament to the broad support that we have for energy freedom. So I'm going to be working hard as we go back to Washington next week to get this bill moved forward, get it out of committee and across the floor because time is of the essence, and I'm confident that we're going to take this up in the Energy and Commerce Committee as soon as we get back. So, friends, all of this work comes back to one mission: protecting your families, strengthening our communities, and making sure Washington never forgets about Western New York and the Southern Tier. And that's what drives me, and that's what will continue to guide everything I do. So I encourage you to stay connected with our office. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at langworthy.house.gov, and you can see what we're working on. Each and every week on Sunday, we put that out. But again, I'm going to put one more reminder. Press *3 on your phone if you would like to ask a question. But we are going to go to our first caller we're going to talk to Ron.
Hello?
Hi, Ron.
Yeah, hey, I agree with you on that ban of natural gas in new buildings. I don't think that's correct. I heat with natural gas. Fortunately, it's an older house, and I don't have to worry about it, but I do believe we should have a choice when it comes to that.
Well, I mean, we have thank you for being with us. Where are you calling from tonight?
South Dayton.
Great. We know a little bit about South Dayton, but this is a fight worth having. And, most Republicans in Congress are huge proponents of states' rights. In this instance, I find myself having to go fight the state with looking for federal solutions to block these really bad ideas. This wasn't thought out. I mean, our winters, this would cripple us. And, I think it's very hypocritical that the ban on buildings over 10 stories doesn't click in until the end of the decade. Well, that's New York City. So New York City gets one set of treatment, but upstate New Yorkers who really rely on this and have the most extreme weather circumstances really don't get that same consideration. So I'm hoping the governor will do the right thing with the public pressure we're mounting to maybe put a moratorium on this or push it back. But this deadline is very dangerous for our economy. Anything else on your mind, Ron?
Yeah. One other thing. As far as the bill that's going into effect that wants to cut $1 trillion from Medicaid.
Yes. The big beautiful bill, which it has many things in it. But any specific questions you have?
Yeah. How does Congress plan on doing that? Cutting $100 billion a year over 10 years.
So all that has been done to Medicaid is the following, and I'm glad you brought it up because I'd like to talk about it all there. Because the noise machine out of Albany, the governor's office has talked about these drastic draconian cuts. There is a common sense work requirement put on people that are in the Obamacare expansion population of Medicaid. When Medicaid was created, it was created for the disabled, for the truly needy under 100% of the poverty line, for pregnant women, children, and the elderly. And what Obamacare did is create a new category of people under 138% of the poverty line, but over 100%, and just said, we can't get them to buy a health care plan, so you can be on Medicaid too. All we are asking in this bill, and this is now law, that if you're able-bodied, if you do not have dependent children,
right.
If you are of working age, we're asking those people to work 20 hours a week to maintain their
right.
Medicaid benefits.
What I've read
that is creating massive savings to the taxpayers of this country and bringing dignity back to work.
Right. According to the CBO, what was it, like 4.5 million people that they said are under that requirement, that may be under that work requirement?
Well, right. In the Congressional Budget Office, which, let's just talk about their track record. They were $1.7 trillion off on the last tax package in 2017 in their numbers. They have made the decision unilaterally that, 2 or 3 million people just won't follow the work requirement and will lose their health insurance. I believe that people will, continue to follow the law. It's been widely publicized. There's going to be a work requirement. Medicaid has an obligation to tell people to maintain their benefits. They've got to show work, and it's critical because everyone else works very hard for the benefits they bring home for them and their family. And if people are able-bodied, they're of working age, and they have no dependent children, they don't have an excuse not to try.
Right. But that 4.5 million, and then there was another figure in another report that said there might be up to 1.5 million illegals on Medicaid. And that gives us a total of like 6 million people that would off Medicaid at an average cost of about $8,000 per person per year. So that would bring you to like $48 billion savings in the first year.
There's massive savings, to be had. There's also, there are gimmicks like the provider tax, where the state uses gimmicks and taxes the hospitals to leverage more dollars, and those things are basically put on a diet towards the end of the decade. And that's, in New York State, they're going to be taken down 1%. And yet the governor is running around saying that we're devastating things. New York's not going to see a dime of change until 2029. And the governor's been extremely dishonest about that along the way. But there's a lot in there. Obviously, the entire extension of the tax code from 2027. But we've also put historic senior tax credits on the table that are going to put 88% of the entire senior population where their Social Security income will be tax free. Because of new seniors tax credit. I mean, these are things that are going to help an awful lot of people.
Yeah, but the $1 trillion, I still don't understand how you plan on getting there without cutting benefits or taking people off that would otherwise be able to have Medicaid. I mean, you mentioned that it was originally developed for like pregnant women, children, and people with disabilities. Is that the direction that it's going back to?
That is, the Obamacare expansion population has been made whole. The full federal funding formula stayed in total place, where the federal government pays 90% for those recipients, and the state government pays 10%. For the traditional population, as it's always been, the federal government will continue to pay 50%, and the state and or locality, New York decides to send that down to the locality. That has been kept whole. I fought very hard for that. There were some people on the hard right that wanted those levels cut. So if you're entitled to Medicaid, you're going to continue to get Medicaid.
I still don't understand how you get to $1 trillion.
There's a lot of games within the reimbursement rates on these hospitals, and what has happened with the provider taxes, where the state has double dipped the system, and they're going to have more accountability. We also look for dual eligibles, people that are in they're registered for Medicaid in 2 or 3 states, and that happens a lot in the New York City area, where someone lives in New Jersey, but they once lived in New York, and they're on the books both ways. Those sorts of redundancies are put in place to go find and make sure that someone's only receiving the benefit and paid for once.
Oh, fraud is a big.
I mean, really, we got there with the minimum pain. Even our Democratic state controller called for a need to improve the process for Medicaid claims in New York. So I got a lot of calls I've got to get to. I really appreciate you being with me, Ron. Next, we are going to go to Kimberly.
Hi there.
Hi, Kimberly. Where are you calling from tonight?
I'm from Hornell. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'll be in Hornell tomorrow. So,
if you're here for a photo op, I'd love to meet you.
Okay. Well, thank you for being with us. What's on your mind here tonight?
Well, I'm concerned about the rise of communism here in the United States. And I guess from my understanding of the definition of communism, it's when the government has control or stake in industry, private businesses, that type of thing. And we see that Mr. Trump just bought a whole lot of Intel stock, as well as Nippon Steel. So I'm wondering, I know that you are very much against the gentleman in New York City who happens to be brown, his communism, but what about Mr. Trump's communism?
Well, I guess I don't follow your logic. I mean, the federal government, because of foreign governments with trade deals investing in our country, that some of that stock went in to the U.S. Treasury. So it's actually enriching our country. We don't own the company outright, but we do have part of the stock. So I don't believe that's communism.
That's not communism.
I don't believe that, if we're going to have a debate versus, Mr. Mondami, who's running for mayor in New York City, wants the government to own the grocery store. These aren't the same sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, like making things better for the working class as opposed to the top 10%. And I recognize that you have many other callers. The last caller had 20 minutes, and this is the only time that you have interaction with your constituents. And I'd just like to say,
well, we haven't quite been on the air for 20 minutes, but I'm happy. Please share whatever is on your mind.
Well, I did have the opportunity to meet your opponent, and he does meet with the constituents of New York's 23rd District.
I meet with constituents every single day, ma'am.
Well,
every single day I meet with constituents.
You do not share your schedule with anybody because you don't want anyone to say anything that you don't agree with. I have 4 daughters.
I'm talking to you, aren't I?
Yeah. You know how many months I've called in? 10 constituents a month get on here. I have 4 daughters. You know how difficult it's going to be once they get married for them to have to vote? You know, this is not right. You don't want the government telling you that you can't have natural gas in your house, but you want to be able to say who can and cannot vote? How do you feel
No, I
about
actually
the
want
mail-in
people to be who
ballot?
they say that they're going to be at the
Well,
polls.
me too.
That's what I
Yes,
I want
absolutely.
voter ID in this country, and so does
Yeah.
about 80% of the population. You should be who you say that you are, and there's no one
Well,
that's
how
going
much
to be
is it going to
excluded for
cost
the right
my
to.
daughters? How much
It's
is
not
it
going to
going
cost
to
your
my
daughters
daughters to
anything.
vote? Oh, how
It's
much
not
is
going
the passport?
to. This has been. You need a passport to do just about anything. You to get on an airplane, you need real ID in this state.
Let me just say this to you: if somebody can't afford Medicaid and they can't afford, they make too much money making as a waitress at Applebee's, but they can't be on Medicaid, how the hell do you think they're going to pay for a passport? You know, you got some
you
kind
need
of
real
nerve
ID.
as a white, very rich man. You
Well,
need
that's
to
new
think
to
of
my family that I'm
the
very rich. But
hardworking people here in New York's 23rd district. You're not rich. You're not rich.
no, I'm not rich. I assure you, I'm not rich. I'm probably one of the poorest
I
members
think
of
you
Congress.
make what, $164,000 a year. So that puts you over the Social Security limit. Plus, you make $200 a day per diem.
No,
Every
that
day
is a
that
lie.
you're in
That is not true.
Washington, D.C.
You're not entitled to
Yes,
your own
it-
facts. I do not get 200. There is no per diem. This is not the state legislature. I do not receive a per diem for every day I'm in Washington.
You do.
Period. End of story.
Can you tell me how much you get paid for your living expenses when you're in Washington, D.C.?
I take zero on my living expenses in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You're not entitled to your own facts, ma'am. I mean, listen, I understand that there's a lot of people
Neither are
that are.
you.
By all means, you have the right to disagree with me, but you don't get to make things up. I mean, and that's what you're saying. You just dreamt up a per diem that does not exist for members of Congress.
Oh, I can find it.
Does not. Well, go look. There's no $200 per diem.
Anybody can look at the per diem rate.
There is no per diem for members of Congress, period. So it does not exist. There is a reimbursement rate that some people take. I do not take it.
All know that you are making money hand over fist in your position.
I don't trade stocks. I accept the legal salary that the office comes from. I have no other business interest, ma'am.
Yeah, so does Mike Johnson, I'm sure.
Okay. Thanks for calling. I appreciate you being on the line. Next, we are going to go to PJ. Hi,
Hello.
PJ. Hi, thanks
Hello,
for being
Congressman.
with us.
I was glad to be able to come on there after that lady there. I don't know. Like I say, this is the problem in New York State is, unfortunately, people like that. But I do agree that everybody in New York State should have their choice of natural gas, coal, firewood, whatever they want to do to burn to make heat or whatever. But my question tonight, I know it wasn't really discussed during your talk, was in law enforcement. I would like to know what Congress is going to do to shut down these states, the bail reform, the raise the age, and all these other nonsense laws that are like crippling all of New York State, making life not only miserable for law enforcement, which I know like Governor Hochul and wouldn't even care, but I'm just curious on what your thoughts of that are. Also, just a second part to that real quick.
Sure.
In my job every day, I mean, I see all walks of life, and I agree that the state also needs to start shutting down these free handouts to people that are perfectly able to work but choose to just abuse, drugs. So those were my statements.
I appreciate your thoughts here tonight. I mean, with law enforcement, I mean, I've got a pretty vocal track record of where I stand with law enforcement. I back the blue all the way. And whether it's standing on the picket lines with our corrections officers last winter, and as they were out there in the 15-degree temperatures, or all of our officers. I mean, I have fought this bail reform since my previous job, which was a political role that I had statewide. But the reality is the governor just doesn't seem to get it. I mean, the president this week came out with a strong executive order about cashless bail and how dangerous it's been for Washington, D.C. He sent a clear message that even the Democratic elected mayor of D.C., I hear, sound bites tonight where she's thanking the president for putting additional troops on the streets, and people are seeing an immediate impact of having, more officers and National Guardsmen on the streets has cut the crime down. And cashless bail, it's only logic. If criminals think there's no consequence, they will commit more crimes. I mean, the great equalizer is a night in jail or an extended period of time in jail. I mean, people, when I talk about our problems in New York, in Washington, one of the things I'm very proud of is we've signed into law the Halt Fentanyl Act, which, has reclassified all fentanyl so they can't play games with the chemistry of it. It's all going to be prosecuted at the federal level. If the feds bring the charges at very high level crime. But under New York state law, if you have 100 pounds of fentanyl in the backseat of your car, enough to be a weapon of mass destruction, you're not even going to get anything more than an appearance ticket.
Correct.
I mean, in this lack of cashless bail, or this lack of being able to hold someone on a serious drug crime has been a huge impediment to the investigations, and this scourge has stayed on our streets every single day. So I take every opportunity I can to speak out about this. Unfortunately, the governor just doesn't seem to get it. That especially in upstate New York, people are at a breaking point. And a lot of our major cities have had big rises in crime, big quality of life issues, car break-ins, carjackings. I mean, you name it, this is all up, and they just paper over it and say, oh, violent crime is down. It's total disrespect for the men and women in uniform. You swore an oath to put your life on the line every day. Your family doesn't have the peace of mind to know that you're coming back in one piece. Yet they've taken all the tools out of your tool belt to do your job.
Also with that, the other big problem is these mental health facilities that were all shut down, and all the victims of mental health are shoved on the streets, basically for the police to babysit. Mental health was supposed to take over these issues, and in my job, I see every day that we have to deal with the mental health because the mental health people don't want to come out and do the job that they're supposed to do. So it's another burden on law enforcement with just constant mental health issues.
I find it ludicrous. The state budget when Andrew Cuomo left office was $185 billion. Under Kathy Hochul, 5 years later, it's $254 billion. And the fact that our mental health services have been starved out like they have, and these people are crammed into ERs, and the facilities aren't there for them, to get treatment. When the state raises this much tax revenue and spends it freely every year, it shows a mistake in priorities. Yet the governor still has a random $50 million to provide legal services for people to fight with ICE that are here illegally. It's about priorities. And tell me your budget and I'll show you your priorities. And that what the governor's priorities are completely out of line with what the values of Western New York are. But thank you for what you do every day, trying to keep our community safe, and I appreciate you being with us. Next, we're on to Rich.
Yes. Could you hear me?
Hi, Rich. I can. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Hornell, New York. First and foremost, I want to thank you for all that you do for your constituents and for the residents in your district. I formerly served as the public works superintendent, and I currently work for the town of Hornellsville. And I've been working for several years to try to get some of the streams and creeks cleaned in this area. As you know, the damage in Canisteo, Jasper, Woodhull, from poor maintenance in the creeks created havoc on all those communities. And unfortunately, when we call up and we find out about getting the creeks cleaned, the DEC will not allow permits. They won't allow the New York State DOT, Steuben County Water and Soil, or local municipalities to enter into the creeks because they want to protect the fish, the fathead minnows, and the toads. We recently signed a petition in our neighborhood to get the creeks cleaned. I was going to get it to you, to Senator O'Mara, and Assemblyman Palmisano, and I just wanted to see if you could possibly help us to get the permits needed so we could get these creeks cleaned out and to prevent damage.
Well, I appreciate you calling, Rich, and it's funny you bring up this topic because I happened to be up in Niagara County today in the town of Lockport, and I heard the same exact story from their town board. I visited their work session of their town board meeting, and they expressed the same exact problem with the DEC. And I certainly was. I was in Woodhall and Jasper and Canisteo after those horrific floods. I think it was last summer, and obviously they hit a few summers before that as well. But it was crystal clear to me and laid out clearly by those highway superintendents that they have not been able to touch the creek beds at all. And they're not allowed to do any dredging. They're not able to take any debris out of there. And as that rock bed keeps making those channels narrower and narrower, our risk of flooding is getting worse and worse. And this becomes an issue because, I think about 10 days ago, we just announced major FEMA awards to try to make the communities whole after that disaster, and those monies do take time to get down. We fought hard and actually worked with the governor. I'm sure some people on the line would like to hear that I do work with the governor when we have to, but to get that major disaster declaration for Steuben County in particular, from those storms. I mean, and that was under President Biden, and it was critical that we got that designation so those monies can come. But if some of the flooding is being caused by mismanagement, this is going to end up costing taxpayers more on top of their personal property being endangered. It's costing taxpayers money to go rectify the situation after the disasters happen. So I am going to be digging into this more. I'm going to be discussing it with the Army Corps of Engineers as well as EPA because this very topic, many communities in our district have told me that they can't get proper creek management because DEC stands in the way and tries to block it. So I appreciate that. We've taken down your number. We'll be calling you as well on this because you certainly have some knowledge there. So we'd like to tap into that as I go and have that discussion with DEC. But thanks for being with us, Rich.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next we're going to talk to Chris. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Nick?
I'm doing great. Where are you calling from tonight?
Oh, Westfield.
Oh, well, thanks for being with us. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, just as a retired vet and Purple Heart, I just had a couple questions as far as community goes here. Yeah, all of us, I know you already discussed it, but all of us here are concerned about natural gas and whatnot. I own a ton of property here, and I want to build on top of what I already have. What can we do?
Well, that's why I've got my legislation. I mean, in terms of the laws that exist today in New York, your building permit on a new build home has to be stamped by December 31st and permitted. So the locality has to permit the home by then in order to grandfather it in and allow for a natural gas hookup. that's why I've introduced the Energy Choice Act to try to, prevent this ban from taking effect, and stopping, further new construction that's allowed to use natural gas. Also, thank you for your service to our nation. You've earned the
Thank
Purple
you.
Heart, and it's certainly, you've paid quite a price for our freedom, and I appreciate that very much. But we are going to build some grassroots for this, because every municipality I visit, this is something that we've got to make top of mind, because these are life and death situations, and we have. Just imagine it in the height of a tough winter storm, if the power is blown out because of high winds, how long people could be without heat. And to have no redundancy. That also includes no ability to put a natural gas generator if you do have electric heat. All of those things are taken off the table. And no one can explain why this must be. There was an awful lot of climate activism a few years ago, and blue states were running as hard as they could to be the most climate efficient, but it wasn't studied properly as to what the impacts would be. So I know your state legislators. I know they're with me in this fight. I know they're with where you stand in this fight. So you can count on their advocacy, Senator Borrello and Assemblyman Molitor. But we need to get more people involved. I mean, I'm working on our senators should hear, our U.S. senators should be asked to sponsor this bill in the Senate, and to not try to block it when it comes through. The last thing we need is them trying to filibuster something, because we're trying to fight for common sense here.
Yeah, I've reached out to him, and he's not on board. But yes,
Senator Schumer,
as you well know, yes.
Yeah. Well, there's he doesn't need to be an advocate. He just needs to not be a blockade.
Correct.
So that's what we're hoping for, that they won't try to stand in the way of this bill passing, because it is critical to our future in Western New York and the Southern Tier, and our ability to continue to have a sustainable future where we're not just chasing people out of here. And that's the unfortunate reality here, is this is just going to put the exodus on the afterburners. You're going to have more and more people leaving this state. We already lead the country in population loss, and it's more extreme in our end of the state than it is anywhere else. People are leaving for more personal and economic freedom way too often, and it's been our sad reality for years, but it's gotten a lot worse since COVID. And policies like this just make it all the more difficult for us. So I really appreciate you being with us, Chris, and again, thank you for your service to our nation. Next, we're going to talk to Bill.
Okay.
Hi, Bill.
Yes, hello.
Hi, sir. Where are you calling from tonight?
Rathbone, New York.
Well, thank you for being with us. What's on your mind?
Well, I heard your speech about the propane, and we use propane for crop drying on the farm, and a lot of people are buying these Generac generators for about $4,000 a piece because they can't trust the electric to be on. And when the electric goes off, they lose their heat, and they lose their lights, and they lose their television, and pretty much going back to the frontier days. But if they're going to do away with propane, those generators aren't going to be running because they're generating their own electric. Are they wasting their money buying these portable generators?
If the generator's in place before December 31st, they're okay. It's going to be your ability to get one after December 31st is going to be the problem. And that all kind of falls under the deadline of the governor's mandate, where next January 1st, I don't think you're going to be able to get one of those installed. And
I know,
that's
our town.
That's an important redundancy for people.
2 of them. Yeah,
well,
the town of Rathbone did install 2 of them, one at the town barn and one at the town hall. because it's the town hall's emergency evacuation center, and the town barn has to be out plowing roads. They can't be sitting there with no way to get things going, no way to open the doors on the garage.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
and
got to have
that's
electric.
with the grid and and listen, I have had major executives from the public utilities tell me off the record that the quality of our grid condition is this in our end of the state is the same that they would see in a third world country in South America. And that's why we have a lot of power outages, because the state has not invested in the grid for a very long time. They've starved it out, and that's why you're seeing, it's easy for politicians to blame the utilities on these increases. It's actually the governor's public service commission that's raising these utility rates, and they're jacking up people's bill because they've put the mandate down onto the taxpayers and the ratepayers to pay for the improvements of this mass electrification. And that is exactly why people's bills are going up. The cost of the energy isn't going up. It's the cost of the state mandates on the energy companies. And, we've seen double-digit increases in rate increases that Governor Hochul's Public Service Commission has just mandated. I mean, this is something that just, cannot continue. So,
well, one thing for sure, though, if you neglect something long enough, I mean, your car or your house or anything, if you don't put the maintenance into it, and then all of a sudden you're going to have these high maintenance costs, and who's going to pay them? You're going to have to pass that cost on to consumers.
It's all going right down to the consumer because they've made bad decisions for a long time, and now they want to demand much more of it, and that's the problem.
Isn't that their only source of income, though, the consumers?
The consumer pays the rate and pays, and all those delivery fees and the things that you pay. I mean, I think, one of the utilities put on a bill explainer explaining how much the state mandates, how much of a part of their bill that is. And I think that does tell the story because these things are decided by the state and the utility just has to comply. So thanks for being with us, Bill. I really appreciate you. And next, we're going to go to Samantha.
Hello.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
Oh, I'm just ducky. What about you?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you. Where are you calling from tonight?
No more.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us. What's on your mind?
Well, I appreciate your weekly newsletters. And
thank you for subscribing.
And it's nice to see some common sense in a politician.
Well, I appreciate that very much.
Well, as you go through all the things you've been discussing, and we've all been listening, common sense kind of is lacking sorely in a lot of these things that happen. But that being said, under the Social Security tax cuts, who on Social Security, I guess I'm dumb, but I can't find who's going to be able to take advantage of that.
Okay, so with the tax credit for seniors, anyone, if you currently file a federal tax form, if you have to pay taxes, you would be entitled to this tax deduction. Those seniors that pay no federal taxes, unfortunately, there's not a windfall. But for those that do have to pay taxes, they now, for each person whether it's a married couple, they would get the deduction twice. If it was just a single, they get a $6,000 deduction. If it's a married couple, they get $12,000. It's Americans 65 and older, of course, that receive the Social Security, and they get that on top of the senior deduction that's already in law. So this means, if you do have a tax obligation and you do receive Social Security benefits, now 88% of the total population. So basically, the only people that wouldn't have their tax obligation go away is the upper earners. They would not receive the benefit, those people that have a lot of other revenues. But for all middle-class seniors and folks that do have still some income and they have to pay tax, they will have an additional $6,000 or $12,000 deduction at the end of the year.
All right. And
but if you don't file a tax return, you don't need to file a tax return. You're already tax-free if that's your only source of income.
Yes.
Because the goal of this was to have no tax on Social Security benefits for just as many people as we could, and that's about what fit under the bill was about 88% of the total.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
And all these other issues that have been discussed, the police business and all of that, it all goes back, and I'm not going to preach, but it all goes back to child rearing, consequences, and dignity. I've been involved with Open Door Mission in Rochester for 25 years. I've helped with our food pantry here for 13 years since I retired. There are deserving people. However, and Allegheny County is one of the biggest offenders. I'm certain if you look at stats of folks who are perfectly able to work and they're like third-generation wellies. Well, that really has to stop. Somebody, and it's you folks, are starting to wake up and say, look, if you're able, you need to. Enough people who are able to work. We had a fencing
yes, I will say that the law of the land now reads that if you are able-bodied, if you don't have dependent children, and you are of working age, you have to show 20 hours of work to continue the benefits. And that, I think, is fundamental fairness because, as I said earlier, everybody works hard to bring home what they did for their family. You know, if you're a retiree, you worked hard your whole life to get to retirement. Medicaid was put in place to take care of the absolute most vulnerable. Obamacare changed the fabric of Medicaid. The vulnerable are not included in the work requirement. Those that are disabled, those that are truly under 100% of the poverty line, those in the traditional Medicaid population, those people are not affected. It's those people that Obamacare wanted to give a free health insurance plan to. Those are the ones that will have a common sense work requirement. And it can be community service. They could work at the food pantry like you do as a volunteer, and God bless you for doing that. Or they could get education to try to, raise their own status. So hopefully at some point they wouldn't have to be on Medicaid. And that's, we want to raise up the dignity of work in this country. Every employer I visit all has a need for more employees. And that's something that, we're fighting hard to get as many people in the workforce as possible. But I'm going to try to get to a couple more callers. Thank you for being with us, Samantha. I've got a poll question for you. Do you support stopping Governor Hochul's ban on natural gas and propane? If yes, press 1 on your phone. If no, press 2 on your phone. Again, do you support stopping Governor Hochul's ban on natural gas and propane? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. And would love to see that. And also, if you want to try to get into the queue here at the end, press *3. Next, we're going to go to Mark.
Hi.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good.
Good. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Asheville, New York.
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us. The lake looking beautiful today?
Oh, yeah. A lot of weeds,
gorgeous
though. A lot of weeds.
Yeah, too many weeds. Too many weeds. What's on your mind?
Why don't we have Doge in New York with a $250 billion budget? Are you kidding me? Even the poor people, now the poor people should want it the most, because if we can find $50 billion that's being stolen, isn't that $50 billion we can use to help poor people?
I mean, I was flabbergasted when I looked at the numbers, and I said them earlier that when Cuomo left office, the state budget was $185 billion. Now it's $254 billion. The staggering growth of the state budget is something that should give everyone pause, because at the same time, we've probably lost 750,000 residents. And a lot of those people were people that paid a healthy amount of taxes, and they took, their lives to, many of the southern states that have a lot less regulations and taxes. This state desperately needs a Doge, and I think that probably would be something that I can't really get into politics on this government call in terms of electioneering, but anyone challenging the record of Governor Hochul should suggest that, because we found things in the federal process that no one knew we were paying for. I mean, when I was asked, I had an amendment vote in front of me during the NDAA bill, which authorizes our military expenditures for the year, and the question of USAID's budget was in front of me, and I was asked, a yes vote to cut it in half. I voted no, because I believe that agency provided food and medicine and humanitarian aid to those areas in desperate need, because that was the intention of the organization. Then the books blew open on this thing during the Doge process, and we found out it was doing all sorts of social engineering all over the globe, things that no member of Congress was ever read in on, clued in on. There was no accounting to Congress as to what was being spent by this agency, all at the behest of the administration. I mean, it blew my mind when we learned the things that we did on that. Can you imagine what they'd find in New York State? I mean, the NGOs that New York State is funding. I mean, I saw something through social media the other day where someone was proud that their kid was going to this camp, and the camp was to learn how to be a podcaster and climate activist. Oh. And then I'm like, what is this? And I click through, and the organization was paid for by NYSERDA, a New York State agency. So you're spending money to create a camp to teach kids how to be climate activists. Is that making life more affordable for anyone in New York? I mean, if there's an appetite to create future podcasters for the climate activists, some other organization should do that, not New York State tax dollars. These are the things that we need to get government back to its core function and out of the business of social engineering. And that's what we end up with too much in this state.
Here's the thing. If you're not for Doge and looking into this, you're part of it. You're getting your cut. There's a reason for it. And I can't believe the poor people aren't just going nuts, because that's their money. I mean, it could be their money.
Every single one of us that takes a paycheck and pays state taxes is on the hook for all of these things. I mean, when you see the governor saying that she has a $50 million fund of New York State tax dollars to represent people that have come into the country illegally to defend themselves against ICE, you see how backward we are. After we have been housing, people that came to the country illegally over and over and over. We still have hotels here in the Buffalo area that are full of people that have come here illegally. And we've clothed them, housed them, fed them for years now. And now we're going to give a legal defense fund to fight against deportation? I mean,
obviously,
this is absurd.
They're making money. They're making money off of this. They've got ways to get the money kicked back. They give money to this, they get their kickback. I mean, there's money involved. This isn't they're not, they don't believe in this stuff. They believe in making money, and that's what they're getting. They're getting paid. They're getting paid by the cartels. They're getting paid, the NGOs. You know what's going on.
These NGOs are bad news. I mean, the government should not be funding non-government organizations, period. I think that, as we, continue to see these giveaways, we've got problem after problem. And trust me, I think New York State needs a Doge. So I thank you for being with me. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Yeah. One last thing. You need to put these people in prison, or they're just going to keep doing it, just like any other criminal. If you just let them go and you don't put them in prison, they're going to keep doing it. It's never going to end. But if
anyone's stealing from the government, they need to be prosecuted. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Thanks for being with us, Mark. Next, we're going to go to Molly. Hi, Molly.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm
Good to
good. Where are you
speak
calling
with you.
from?
Thank you for Corning.
Okay, thanks for being with us. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. So I'm a business owner. I started my business 15 years ago. I work in advertising, creating images for companies, product photography mostly, and a majority of my work is imports and tourism. Okay. And I am just wanted to express my sincere disappointment that Congress and the Senate haven't worked, the Republicans there haven't worked in any way to be a backstop to how absolutely absurd America's tariff policy is right now. I can tell you, and I know a lot of people here are listening and they won't agree with me, and sir, you and I are probably never going to agree on most
Fair
anything.
Enough.
But very respectfully, I want to say that the decisions that are being made are horrible for business owners and for consumers, okay? I have had multiple jobs canceled since this new president has come in, specifically cited because these product lines are being canceled. We're no longer selling in America. And these are products that are needed in America that we can't make here, okay? So this isn't like you can go and buy American for these things. We don't make them here, okay? And so basically, my income has steadily gone up for the last 15 years in a way that I'm quite proud of. It's a success story, if you will. And this year, well, thank you. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this year our sales are down 40%. Okay, 40% down in sales. Very specifically, every one of my clients, I have all long-term clients, and they say, we do not know what's happening with the economy. We cannot advertise at this point. We're no longer selling these products specifically because of the tariffs. And I feel like, sir, your job, I feel like you're a rubber stamp for anything Trump wants. And your job is to think about what he's doing and to be a common sense backstop to this. That was why there are different branches of government. And what is going on in D.C. right now, it's lawless, sir. And it's your job to pay attention to these things and not just do what he says. I know that he threatens anyone who wants to disagree with him. You have to, if you go into a cabinet meeting, Trump, everybody has to compliment him and tell him he's amazing and all of this stuff. But that's not how a country is run. It's not how a successful economy is made. And this is long-term very dangerous. And that is my piece.
I appreciate you sharing your piece, and I'd be happy to respond. Thank you for being with us, Molly. I know the tariffs are uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable for business. Uncertainty of any kind in international trade creates friction. It causes people to press pause. What we have seen already are new trade deals on the books that are some of the biggest trade deals in the history of the world. I mean, the European Union deal is the largest trade deal in the history of the planet. And the U.S. now has more opportunities to export their products, without further tariff into the European Union. Our deal with Japan, I actually happened to be in the Oval Office while President Trump finished the trade deal with Japan. And it is an opportunity for the first time we're going to be selling our cars freely in Japan. They're buying Alaskan natural gas, liquefied natural gas. They're taking U.S. imported rice. I mean, all these things that had not happened in the past, and they're doing it with no further tariff on our products going into Japan. I am not an ultimate free trader. I come to that conclusion after my upbringing in the Southern Tier and watching our manufacturing base decimated after NAFTA. In the place where my family still resides in Jamestown, we have a trail of tears of closed factories and an auto industry that's lost so many component manufacturers in our area because, as Ross Perot said years ago, the giant sucking sound is Mexico taking our jobs. And the race to the bottom has hurt the American worker in a way that we have not seen. In our addiction to cheap goods from China, as we normalized trade relations with China on a permanent basis back in the year 2000, certainly, put that on steroids. So that is something that, I take into mind. I understand that businesses have pressed pause, that they want to see certainty before they move forward, especially on big ticket items. Some if they're dumping their products in our country at a bargain basement price and they're crowding things out, that certainly has been very lucrative for them for many years. And maybe with a tariff in place, that those products no longer are as competitive in the United States. But every country wants to do business with the United States. Everyone wants the American consumer as their customer because we are the richest country in the history of the world. But we should not get taken advantage of. I hope that we have a bilateral agreement very soon with Canada. It's uncomfortable. We've gotten to the point where I think that there is a thaw. You see, Canada has dropped their punitive tariff on the U.S. Most of our goods go back and forth under the USMCA. I really want to see us have a bilateral deal with Canada very soon. I don't agree with every single thing President Trump has done. I don't think that they should be our 51st state. I don't think that we should, be coercive to Canada in any way. But we buy 68% of their goods, and they have huge barriers. I was just on a farm in Allegheny County yesterday, having this discussion about the barriers to U.S. dairy products going into Canada and how they have no ability to compete on that open marketplace. If there's going to be free trade, it should be free trade both ways. And if I'm all for free trade if it's truly free trade. If it's free trade that costs us American jobs, I have a problem with that. If it's taking advantage of the American economy, I have a problem with that. So I think the president does need the bandwidth and the time to go negotiate deals. He's doing it at record pace. We have real deals in place. And this it's going to continue because countries want to do business here. And it's creating revenue for our Treasury, which is going we have to close our deficit. So, there's, whether it's the tariff income or not, I mean, these are things that are really critical. I appreciate the difference of opinion. I appreciate you calling and us having a respectful dialogue back and forth, like hearing what's on your mind. And hey, if we couldn't agree, we couldn't agree. But that's all right. That's what it's all about, right? I'm going to ask one last time the question: do you support stopping Governor Hochul's ban on natural gas and propane? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and I'll announce the results here in a moment. And the last caller of the night is Edward. Edward. Hello. Hi, Edward. You still with me, Edward?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Hey, there you are. Okay. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I was just thinking like all the other folks with this banning of natural gas, wood, coal, the whole outfit. What is there possibly that regular people could do? I bought a camper last year from Camping World. It was a new one, and they told me I have to buy everything in it was electric. Well, I camp off-grid, and I'll tell you, I've had a nightmare all year. And now, my home's not real small, and if I go to all-electric, I just got an electric bill for the summer, a month, and I wasn't even home. It was $108, say. what can we do to stop Hochul, and I'm sorry, but the rest of the Democrats from ruining our state?
Well, that's as I said before. That's why I introduced this bill to stop this particular effort going forward. I mean, these Green New Deal policies are going to really hit people where it hurts in their pocketbook. I mean, this is you're going to have a continued increase in electric rates because the demand's going up. They're not putting any new electricity generation on the grid. They're in fact taking it off. I mean, they've taken off all the former plants up in Barker and Tonawanda and in Dunkirk. I mean, those plants have been shuttered now for years, and they could have repurposed those as natural gas plants. They didn't do it, and now if they wanted to do it, they'd have to start over. I mean, the governor talks about creating a nuclear power plant. It's going to take 15 plus years to get there with all the permitting and the siting and the decision making and plus billions of dollars in expenditures that would have to get there. This has got to be a centerpiece of all the discussion into next year. Again, I can't get directly into electioneering on this call, but we have to have a public dialogue on this. We have to, ramp up the pressure. The governor has a public comment line. You should call, and so that they can hear from taxpayers directly that enough is enough of this, and you got to leave us alone. Let us live our lives. Let us have a choice in our energy because the rate increases have all gone through. They all get rubber stamped when Kathy Hochul asks for them. They deliver them, and you're talking double digit increases in power generation, whether it's your gas bill or your electric bill. We need as many people being vocal about this as possible. You know where I stand. I've talked about it all night here. We've had an awful lot of talk about energy policy, but it's important, and we need more people. And I'm going to be doing media discussions all over the place so we can get the public attention through the press on these critical issues. So thanks for being with us, Edward. I appreciate it very much. Our final result on the poll, with 3,620 votes cast, 77% suggest yes to stop the ban, and 23% do not want to stop the ban. So it's 77-23 in favor of stopping the natural gas ban. I will take that as a pretty good indicator of keeping working hard on this policy and fighting to get the Energy Choice Act across the finish line. I want to thank you all for taking time out of one of your last summer nights of the year to hear all the important updates that we've talked about, to share your thoughts with me so we could have a discussion. We have a lot of big challenges to tackle both in our nation, but truly in our state, in our region. And I'm honored to work towards solutions that will help the residents, the families, the businesses, the hardworking taxpayers of Western New York and the Southern Tier. I fight for the hardworking men and women paying the bills in this state, and I will never stop fighting for them. So please know that my door is always open. We have offices in Clarence, in Jamestown, in Olean, and in Corning. Our door is always open for you if you have any questions, concerns, comments, you need any assistance from the federal government. No problem is too big and no problem is too small. If you need us to cut through the red tape with Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits, or something simple like getting your passport, please call our office, visit our website, langworthy.house.gov. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter, which comes out every Sunday. I tell you what my priorities are, what I'm working on, and give you the opportunity to know what's going on directly from me, because I really can't count on the media to deliver all of the facts. So if I wasn't able to answer your question, you could stay on the line after this and leave us a voicemail, and either myself or our staff will get back to you. Thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of your night. Have a wonderful Labor Day holiday. God bless you all, and God bless America.